Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, and tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.
When you're able to show others that like you can battle your like deepest, darkest times and come out, you know, better off, you can give people hope.
This episode of Bring Back the Porch brought to you by Medicine at Monumental, crafting quality memorials of distinction since 1970.
Derrick Lillico from Our Collective Journey. You're back on the porch, but we want to focus more on the story of Our Collective Journey. How did Our Collective Journey come to be?
Yeah, so back in 2020, our community went through hell, and there was a lot of loss of life due to addiction and mental health struggles.
There was, I remember that time. Yeah.
And the founders decided that they wanted to create a organization that was going to be the face of recovery for our community. We started out with our recovery coaching program. And as things evolved, we got into the resilience coaching with the youth. Mm-hmm. And now we offer a lot of really great programming with a lot of other organizations around town as well. The last 5 or 6 years, our community has really battled a lot of dark times. Over the last 6 years, I've lost around 20 people to either overdose or death by suicide. And when this all started happening in 2020, there wasn't a lot of places for people to go get help. Counseling is a great tool, and going to see the professionals to help us deal with our traumas is great. But when we get on to that path of recovery, we found that having somebody who's gone down that path themselves to kind of help and to guide you was a really powerful tool. Mm-hmm. We're an organization that really believes in community collaboration. We're a organization that wants to be able to help as many people in our community as possible. We started out just doing our recovery coaching, and then as we started working in the junior high and the high schools, we put a focus onto the resilience coaching with the youth. Mm-hmm. We found that not every youth was struggling with substance use or addiction issues, but every youth is trying to discover who they are and are dealing with a lot of problems that our generations didn't have to deal with.
What do you think are some examples, like technology-wise, like social media?
Technology. I believe that humans can take anything intended for good, and we somehow can blow it up and use it to make it hard on youth to feel like they belong, right? And youth now are growing up in a time where they can be picked on 24 hours a day.
I couldn't imagine.
7 days a week.
Like, I remember even myself in high school, there's a period where just not really super depressed, but definitely like dark times when you had dreading to go into school. Am I going to see this person who's picking on me? Because I was picked on too. And I don't want to see this person. I hope I don't run them in the hallways. And I couldn't imagine going home is your safe spot. And then just because you want to use an electronic device, your safe spot's your unsafe spot is going with you everywhere, potentially, right?
Yeah, and not just the picking on, but also trying to like live up to others' expectations.
Well, what you see,
right?
Influencers,
yeah, right. You
think you need to be here, but you're not there.
100%. Right, and kids nowadays, I feel like have a lot of pressure put on them. Pressure to perform at school, pressure to perform at sports. Pressures to help around the house, right? And there's a lot of parents out there who are struggling. And, whether it's, mentally or, financially, there's a ton of us adults out there that are struggling too. And when these kids are coming from chaotic homes, chaos is all they know, right? And I'm a dad, and, I myself wasn't always the best dad. When I was caught up in my active addiction, I missed out on a ton of my kids' lives, right? And when our kids don't have a safe place at home, they start to try to find groups to belong to, right? And when youth are trying to discover who they are, I know that I did a lot of really dumb things back in the day just to try to fit in, right? And we got peer pressure, and we got kids struggling to figure out who they are because this world tries to tell us who we have to be, right? And one of the coolest parts about being a resilience coach is being able to help kids to discover that they get to be whoever they want. Right? I myself struggled in school, especially junior high. Junior high was the hardest years of my life. The first time that I thought of hurting myself, I was only 12 years old. Jeez. And that's because I used to get picked on a lot because of my stutter. Because growing up, I was about 5'1" and 100 pounds. And I was a pretty easy target, right? So when we're growing up and we're feeling like we don't belong or we're feeling like we don't fit in, we try to grasp on to anybody that is going to accept us. And sometimes that leads us down a path that we don't want to be on.
So how did you get involved with our collective? Were you there from the beginning?
No, I got asked at the start to join, but I wasn't far enough along in my recovery process to feel comfortable yet to be helping others. I've been with our collective journey now for 5 years. Started out as a volunteer recovery coach, then got hired on full time. Now I'm also the community engagement coordinator, so going out into community and doing things like this, One of the coolest parts about my job is that I get to go around town and host a couple recovery meetings. Our collective journey goes to the recovery center. We go to North now. We go to Link's house, which is a sober living community. We also now are going to the mustard seed, as well as our Pathways to Recovery community meeting every second Thursday down at the library.
Mm-hmm. Now, I was looking more into, we talked earlier, I was looking more into our collective journey, and I didn't know about the whole recovery part of it. I thought it was more like a youth-based program. Yeah. And reading about it, it sounds great because it basically says people who are falling through the cracks. Yep. Because not everybody with an addiction obviously doesn't fit anywhere in a specific place. You can't go to this program, you have to wait for this program. So can people just reach out to our collective journey and say, I have a problem and I'm just looking for any kind of help?
100%.
Yeah.
So our collective journey was created to fill in the gaps.
Yeah.
Right? There are a lot of gaps in our recovery system. When somebody makes that choice that they want to get help, they want help now.
Mm-hmm.
And if they have to wait a month or two
that can be forever
to get in, a lot can happen in that time. They can change their mind, they can get scared, or worst of it, they don't make it.
Mm-hmm.
Right? And I have so much respect for people who have made that choice to go to treatment. I have a lot of respect for people when they decide that they want to get help. And asking for help is a really hard thing.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Humans hate asking for help, because then all of a sudden we have to admit that, one, we have a problem, and two, that we can't handle it all on our own.
Mm-hmm.
And humans were never intended to do life on their own. Right? We do so much better when we are surrounded by healthy community. We do so much better when we feel valued and heard, right? And our collective journey can help anybody at any spot in their recovery journey. So say you apply to go to recovery, but you got to wait a bit, right? A recovery coach can help bridge that gap until you get to treatment, right? Once you're in treatment, you can still talk with your recovery coach. Once you get out of treatment, you can still talk to your coach, right? And a lot of people come out of treatment after the 28 days or the 90 days, and that's when the really hard work starts.
Mm-hmm.
Because now you're coming out of a place where you had structure, a place where you had programming, mm-hmm. and now you have to go back into your life and try to create a brand new way to live. Right? Recovery isn't as easy as just giving up the substance. Right?
It's lifelong. It's not like your 90 days is up, you're good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. And I don't think that anybody who has dealt with addiction issues in their life is ever 100% cured.
Mm-hmm.
I've been in recovery now for 5 years. And, we get asked all the time, when do the cravings and the triggers and the urges stop? And the, truth is that I don't have that answer for everybody, because it is completely different, right? I still get, cravings when I'm watching TV and a, whiskey commercial pops on, right? I'm like, oh, that'd be good. And then I have to quickly remind myself, as to why I made that choice to stop drinking, right? And when you're in recovery, there isn't really a timeline as to when you're going to be cured, right? Recovery is a lifelong process that requires us to be working on it every day, right? It's one of the biggest parts of 12-step programs is one day at a time, right? And when we're in recovery, you can start to think that after 90 days or after 100 days that things are all of a sudden just going to get easier, right? And the truth is that life is going to be challenging whether or not you are drunk or high. We get up every day and we get to choose what our hard is going to be. Is it hard being in recovery? Yes, especially in a world that glamorizes drinking, right? And we who are in recovery, have to battle a lot every day, right? And there's going to be really good days, there's going to be hard days, but recovery gets easier, addiction just gets harder, and addiction ends in either death or jail. There is no way around it, right? Addiction poisons us, and it makes us believe that we can't live with out substance, right? And addiction, and this is something that I don't think everybody really understands. Addiction is a disease of our brain. It is caused by repeated use. Addiction can start out as a way to cope, and then over time, instead of it, being something that helps to make us, feel safe, it ends up taking over our lives, right? And yes, addiction starts out as a choice, but it's a choice made out of a place of hurt and pain.
And so, what turning point came to you to say to our collective journeys, like, okay, I'm ready to do this? You think, like, what kind of, like, the training? Is it more, because I think it's being a former addict or a recovering addict, I guess, that's sometimes the best people to talk to. Yeah. So at what point in your mind made you say, I think I'm ready to do this?
Let's pause for a moment so we can share some exciting news. We're proud to announce that our work here at Bring Back the Porch is getting noticed. From October to the end of January, our videos and reels viewed more than 1 million times. Some of those viewers could be your customers, so sponsoring Bring Back the Porch is a great way to get your message in front of them too. If you'd like to support our work here at Bring Back the Porch, we ask you to go to our website at bringbacktheporch.com and follow the links. Thank you for your support.
You know what? I've never been asked that question. Not in that way, anyways. What?
Because there has to be a confidence to it, right?
Yeah. I think that I realized that I was ready to help when I remembered all of the pain and all of the chaos that I witnessed when my friends started passing away in 2020, and I got to a spot where I decided that I wanted to be a better person, a better dad, a better partner, right? And I decided that I was ready to help people because I could sit with all of my past and it quit triggering me. When I finally felt that I could go out into the world and share my story, right? And there's a difference between telling your story and using your story to help others, right? And one of my very first public speaking events was to 500 people at Notre Dame, and that was a day that forever changed my life, right? And a big part of getting into recovery is having to face our fears, starting to understand that our feelings and our thoughts can't hurt us. It's how we handle those that causes all the pain, right? Mm-hmm. And at our collective journey, we believe in using our story to help others, but we also believe in connecting people to the proper professionals because we don't have all the answers. Mm-hmm. Right? And I think that when you make that choice to help others, you really have to check your own biases. You have to be prepared to hear a lot of really hard stuff, right? And if you're not prepared to be trauma dumped on and not be triggered by it all the time, right? That's kind of how I knew that I was ready to help, right? And helping people is something that I was taught to do when I was a kid, and now I am so grateful that I'm at a spot in my life and on my recovery journey where I can help others.
Mm-hmm. And what's it like working with youth?
I love working with youth. It's challenging. I wish that I could just hook a computer up to, everybody's brain and just sit there and help to program it, right? But that's not how that works, right? And when you're working with youth, you have to understand that they all learn in different ways, mm-hmm. right? So understanding how they learn, understanding what they're passionate about, right? Because a lot of kids try to hide the parts of themselves that they don't, think that the rest of the world is going to like, right? And working with youth, it gives us the opportunity to help kids not go down the same path as we did growing up, right? Mm-hmm. I started drinking when I was 15. Because I found that if I had 2 beer, all of a sudden my stutter would go away and I was the most confident guy in the room. So, what started out as, self-medicating, right, turned into an addiction. And one of the coolest parts about being a resilience coach is that you get the opportunity to help the youth understand that they are, really, really unique, and that they get to be whoever they want to be, right? School ends. High school's done. You get to go off to college, do whatever you want. You get to take classes. You get to meet new people, right? But when kids are growing up and when we don't, feel like we fit in, we start to make really poor choices. Mm-hmm. And I, think that one of the coolest parts of being a resilience coach is, helping youth to learn to make better choices. Helping youth to learn to ask, for help, right? Mm-hmm. I wish that I would have had a resilience coach growing up, right?
I couldn't imagine how it would be, like you said, seeing everything on social media and what you're supposed to be. Like, I can remember being younger and just seeing other adults, successful jobs, blah, 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 and they must have been completely normal when they were kids. Yeah. I think sometimes you forget when you're a kid that adults were also in the exact same spot they were, and more than likely had the exact same feelings. So it must be great to click with a youth that you're talking to, be like, I've been through this. Yeah. Believe it or not, yeah. I've been through this as well.
Oh, for sure, right? And I'd be lying to you if, I didn't tell you that there are youth who, when you start telling them about your experience, they're like, oh, really?
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you had to deal with this too? I'm like, yeah. Like, the world has changed a lot, but it is, still the, same harsh place sometimes, right?
Yeah.
And when I was growing up in the 80s and in the 90s, we didn't talk about things like mental health. We didn't talk about addiction, right?
It's almost like it didn't exist.
It didn't exist. Yeah. If you don't talk about it, it can't be real.
Yeah.
Right? And when people know better, they need to do better, right? And us as a human race have come a really long way when it comes to helping to educate people, but I don't believe we are where we need to be yet, mm-hmm. right? And that is why it is so important for organizations like Our Collective Journey to be in our community, so people can understand that, like, you can get what well, right? Because growing up, I didn't ever see anybody get better, right? Whether it was with their mental health or with addiction, right? And when you're able to show others that, like, you can battle your, like, deepest, darkest times and come out, better off, you can give people hope, right? And I think that that hope is a really powerful tool. And when we don't know what to do or where to turn, we all have to have something in our lives that gives us hope, right? And helping youth to understand that they're not crazy, that they don't have to deal with peer pressure in a negative way, and helping the youth to understand that there are people out there that actually care about you.
Are you pregnant or recently postpartum and struggling with substance use? Or do you know someone who is?
You're not alone. I'm Amani Wilson.
And I'm Dr. Farzad Kamyar. On Empowered Voices, Recovery to Resiliency, we bring to light the challenges and triumphs of families navigating substance use during and after pregnancy.
Through compelling stories, expert insights, and actionable guidance, we aim to empower listeners with understanding, compassion, and tools for support.
Join our community where compassion replaces judgment.
Subscribe wherever you get your podcasts, because every mother deserves support and the chance to thrive.
Yeah.
Right.
There's nothing worse. I've said this many, many times. There's nothing worse than feeling you're alone in anything. When usually, and it's not usually, you're definitely not.
Yeah.
Somebody is going through the exact same thing you are. Yeah. And to find them and connect that way, like personally that happened to me as well in my family, because with my son, he has like special needs problems. Yeah. And at the peak of the worst, you just, as a parent, just like, what am I doing? What am I doing wrong? How do I help this kid? You just want to help this kid. Then you find other families that are going through the exact same thing, and you get that help, and it's just like a weight off your shoulders, just like falls away. Just that small part, that's not even the work of it, just that small little bit of knowing you're not alone.
Community, right?
Yeah, exactly what you said before, community. Yeah, there's tons of people in the city are going through the same thing you are, and the ArcLight, the Journey seems like a great place to even reach out. And can anybody reach out?
Anybody can reach out.
Yeah.
Youth, we actually get a lot of telephone calls from parents and grandparents asking, how do I help my youth, or how do I help my, child who is struggling with addiction issues, right? And we're coming out with a parent program in the fall. We partnered up with Medicine Hat Family Services to bring out a parent and caregiver program. Addiction affects the whole family, right? And a lot of parents who are trying to help their kids sometimes can actually be causing harm or prolonging their loved one's time in a addiction, because what they feel like is help is actually enabling them, right? So, for instance, somebody that you love is struggling with addiction issues, and they come to you and they say, Dad, can I have $20 to go get gas? Well, instead of giving them that $20 to go get gas, let's go to the gas station together, and I will put the gas in your car for you. Or I need groceries, right? Well, let's go to the grocery store together, right? Because unfortunately, when we're caught up in our active addiction, we spend a lot of time thinking about how we're going to get it, right? and sometimes we manipulate the people closest to us to try to get what we want, and that's part of addiction, and addiction causes us to not be the best versions of ourselves, right? And when we're caught up in it, we are making really poor choices, right? So being able to not only help the person struggling with the addiction, but to be able to help the whole family, I believe is how we go about breaking those generational cycles, right?
Mm-hmm. And what would you say would be one final message, by chance, if anybody's listening that might need help?
Yeah. Might need help. Huh. Where do I start? Where do I end? Recovery is possible. Recovery requires us to understand that we have to learn to be comfortable while being uncomfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Right? When we want help, we need to ask for it, because nobody can read our minds, right? And if there's anybody out there struggling with substance or with any other addiction issue, there are people at our collective journey that understand. If you are a youth and you are struggling to figure out who you are or where you fit in, have patience. It took me till I was 38 years old to be comfortable with who I was. And if you are struggling to figure out who you are or where you belong or where you want to go, a resilience coach can really help you to come up with that plan. Addiction is a disease that when we work at treating it, we can get it under control. And at our collective journey, we believe that everybody deserves a chance at getting well, and we've walked that path, and we've come out more healthy, and we just want to be able to help people find the peace that we have found.
Mm-hmm. Well, thanks for coming to talk to us and sharing some of your story, and I hope you guys have continued success for the work you're doing, because I think it's really, really important.
It is, right? And we're trying really, really hard, and I think that one of the coolest things that we get to do every year is we get to help to organize the Rise Up hot air balloons.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And our community deserves to be happy. Mm-hmm. and to find peace from the last couple years. So
yeah, and thanks again for being here. You can come back anytime you want to.
Thanks, dude. I appreciate you guys here.
Hey, this is Brian again, and I'd like to ask you to do a favor. We can't do this work without people like you, so if you can, please like, share, subscribe, tell your friends about Bring Back the Porch.